So, today, ladies and gentlemen, the hype is real. Field of Glory Medieval is on the cusp of being able to play it on here, but just not yet. Just not yet. It's going to be soon.
It's gonna be soon, ladies and gentlemen.
Keep that hype ready.
We're here to sort of show the first glimpse of Field of Glory 2 Medieval. I'm here with the hype man. Before we get into that, Richard, sorry to give me 2 minutes to sort of give you a quick update on what's happening elsewhere at Slytherin. We've just released Warhammer 40,000 Gladius Eldari, the new DLC, the new Eldar DLC. It's out on Steam now, just like 5 minutes ago, which is trying to juggle a number of things at the same time. That's what happens. Sometimes you just end up with the stuff not working. But on the other end, everything seems to be working. So Steam is now listing the Craft World Eldari DLC. It's also present on all the third-party stores on the Slytherin site, on the Matrix site, so you can go and grab it there. And on top of everything else, it's now available. Actually, the whole series is now available on the Epic Games Store. It is a big step for us. It's the first time release a game on the Epic Games Store. So it's just great, exciting, new platform, entirely new audience, a great way to sort of celebrate the DLC, the launch of the DLC. And we're very happy that we can now join the Epic Games Store with this fantastic game. I mean, Gladius is one of our best sellers, of course, and so we're super excited. So if you want to give it a go, wait. We've got like a stream after this one. Richard's going to stream Field of Glory Medieval, and after Richard, we've got Edmund streaming Warhammer 40,000 Gladius Craft World Eldari. So without further ado, from Warhammer to Nottingham, not very far.
No, definitely not.
Richard York is joined us as a content creator a few years back as one of the key streamers, content creators for Field of Glory, and he's still with us for this exciting launch of Medieval. Hello, Richard.
Hello, thank you very much, of course, for inviting me to the HOW Wargamers. I watch every single one of them. And also it's nice to be a part of the journey and the experience of Field of Glory 2 into Medieval from, I think, was it back in October 2017, Field of Glory 2?
Yeah, that's when we released the first episode of the main game of the Ancients, the product. Well, actually, the Field of Glory, franchise, dates way back. When I started working at Slytherin, I think it was 2007 or something. The guys, the McNeils, were working on the tabletop version. That's where it all started from. The McNeils being world champions and war gamers and all that kind of stuff. Tabletop war gamers. They decided at some point that the whole hobby needed the facelift, and RBS, so Richard Bodley Scott, back in the days with Simon Hall and Terry Shaw, they created the first rule set of Field of Glory. The first rule set was a big step up in quality in a number of ways because it was the first hardback, full color, pretty big, set of rules, and it started, a whole journey. And we're still here after, 15 years talking about Field of Glory. It started a franchise. We're very, very excited about how it, it came along over the years. We've developed it into something that's way beyond the tabletop experience, and that's really a big achievement, I guess.
It's definitely a feat taking a physical board game, a physical game, to the computer and to a digital market, really.
Yeah. No, well, the first one, the first Field of Glory digital version wasn't even involving Richard Bodley Scott, the original creator of the tabletop version. It had hexes, which RBS notably hates, and it had it was developed in by a third party software company, but it did show us the potential of porting the rules to a digital version. And it's not always easy, because you want to keep the core players happy, the tabletop players happy, but also expand it to a wide new audience of players who might not have the opportunity to have miniatures and play in clubs and so on. So they might not know be as knowledgeable as others into this segment. So the first edition of Field of Glory really showed us the potential of the product, but also the idea of having a core game and all these DLCs did work very, very well. So that's how we sort of transitioned to the first Ancients game in 2007.
We've got some screenshots. I think we just saw some screenshots from Field of Glory 1 there as well. I think Richard just mentioned in chat he doesn't like hexes.
Yeah, no, he's vastly against them, right? I've
got to say, I played Field of Glory 2 before I actually played the original Field of Glory game, and I like them both. They both got their own good attributes.
You don't start Richard about hexes, because this conversation can go on forever. But no, I know it's got like pretty solid reasons why he doesn't like hexes. Just not that he doesn't like the shape. There's gameplay reasons why that, and we often have some pretty interesting discussions about it. But he clearly knows what he's talking about. So it's it's definitely his role to decide. And I've just seen actually some screenshots of Field of Glory Empires, which is interesting, because Aged was working on this Ancients 4X strategy game, and we actually thought, what would happen if you have this big 4X game, and at some point you're able to drop all the strategic diplomacy, all that kind of layer, and trade and economics and so on, and actually play that situation into Field of Glory 2. And that was one of the coolest thing I think we've done in the last few years, because from a gameplay perspective, and from the idea from a perspective of creating expanding the franchise and creating an overarching world of opportunities, we've done a tremendous job in that.
Definitely combining the game of exporting games to Field of Glory 2, which is an amazing feat in my opinion. It makes me spend even more time on that game.
Yes, it's quite demanding in terms of time. Yes,
it's definitely got the unique aging factor of the civilizations is amazing as well. Could you go from a glorious nation to a decaying nation in the space of a couple of turns sometimes?
Yeah. No, I think the Empires game has a lot of very cool ideas, and it's not over. I mean, we've got stuff in development on that as well. So I mean, what we wanted to sort of do was really, bring you through a little bit of a recorded interview to RBS with some set questions, because I think from when we announced the game to now, we've seen a lot of recurring questions, and I think, the best way to tackle this was in the middle of the pandemic, and without the opportunity to sort of make a big, live stream where everybody has a chance to, dip in and answer questions, have RBS answer all these questions in a video, and then come back and chat more about the game itself.
Absolutely. It's the same system, but given a medieval twist. As people who have played Fog 2 Ancients will know, Fog is designed to give a good representation of ancient and medieval warfare without getting bogged down in so much detail that the game becomes less playable and enjoyable. It's a top-down design rather than the bottom-up design. That means that we look at actual historical outcomes and then try to make the rules reproduce them, rather than working from reconstructions of arrow penetration and the like. Long experience of playing and developing tabletop wargames rules, almost 50 years now, has taught that bottom-up designs paradoxically tend to produce less historical results, because any error in the assumptions can become magnified to the point where the outcomes are less rather than more historical. It's a morale-based rather than the casualty-based system. The goal is to make the enemy run away rather than to kill them all. Historically, most of the casualties were inflicted when a defeated army was pursued. The army lists are based on extensive research by experts over a number of years and are as historically accurate as we can make them. We try to analyse the important differences between different nations' armies and not invent differences between their units just to make them more different, when such differences are not supported by good historical evidence or are based on biased historical propaganda. The mechanics are mostly exactly the same as Fog Ancients. Unit types that have analogues in Ancients will behave the same. However, the new medieval troop types, such as knights, dismounted knights, crossbowmen, longbowmen, new types of spear unit, standard wagons and so forth, will interact differently. Well, firstly, Fog 2 Medieval does not have a completely new engine. It does have some rules changes to suit the medieval period, but otherwise it plays in much the same way as Fog 2 Ancients. The main reason it's a standalone was to allow us to give it a medieval feel, including medieval themed music with user interface and terrain graphics based on medieval manuscript illustrations. We felt that the ancient mosaic look of Fog 2 Ancients was no longer appropriate for the medieval period, and it would be a lost opportunity to shoehorn medieval into a game with an ancients look. The other main reason is that the addition of knights to the game significantly alters the balance between the different troop types, and having the medieval game as standalone allowed us to completely rebalance the unit cost system to reflect this new balance. We also took the opportunity to completely revise various UI displays, e.g. route percent indicators, tool tips, close combat reports, combat log, etc., all of which are greatly enhanced in Fog 2 Medieval. We also added historical banners for each nation, defensive battle and siege relief scenarios, field fortifications in custom and campaign scenarios, frozen, that is snowy terrain style, many more strategic decisions and scenario setups in campaigns, and various improvements to the scenario editor. There are 12 epic battles covering some of the more important engagements in Northern and Central Europe in this period. Hastings 1066 is of course between Normans and Anglo-Saxons. Tinchebray 1106 is between Normans and Anglo-Normans. Trutina 1110 is between Bohemians and Poles. Krugmar 1136 is between Welsh and Anglo-Normans. The Battle of the Standard 1138 is between Scots and Anglo-Normans. Steppes 1213 is between Brabançon and Liégeois factions in the Low Countries. Bouvines 1214 is between the Kingdom of France and the Holy Roman Empire. Otepar 1217 is between the Livonian Sword Brethren and an alliance of Estonians and Pskovian Russians. Kalka River 1223 is between the Mongol invading forces and the Russians. Bornhoved 1227 is between Germans and Danes. Lake Pipus 1242 is between the Teutonic Knights of the Teutonic Order of St. Mary of Jerusalem versus the Alexander Nevsky's Russians. And Crescentbrunn 1260 is between Hungarians and Bohemians. All of these have been developed by Paul Adaway, and I think you'll agree he has done a very fine job of it. I rather like the Lake Pipers scenario, but they're all interesting. I find all of the factions interesting for different reasons. With the traditional feudal armies, the key is combined arms tactics between knights, crossbowmen or archers, and spearmen. Humans and Mongols try to defeat feudal armies by horse archery and evading their charges. Other armies, such as the Baltic tribes, Welsh and Irish, must make optimum use of terrain to stand up to feudal armies. The base game covers northern and central Europe in the period 1040 to 1270 AD. There are 58 different army lists, and these represent 28 nations or factions at different periods, covering France, Normandy and Brittany, Germany, the Low Countries, Free Cantons, England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, Denmark, Norway and Sweden, the pagan Baltic tribes such as the Old Prussians and Lithuanians, Teutonic Knights, Russia, Poland, Bohemia, Hungary, the Cumans, Volga Bulgars, and the Mongol invasion. The lack of such indicators is a deliberate part of the design philosophy. The information is available by mousing over the map, so scouting out the terrain isn't an onerous task. But not having neon warning signs over dangerous terrain is more realistic and allows players to make the same sort of mistakes that historical generals often did, with troops suddenly finding themselves in unfavourable terrain because their commander failed to scout it out. Because we were going for a tabletop look in Fog 2, with detailed individual figures each representing an average of 60 actual men, it wasn't possible to represent the terrain on the same scale as the figures. Otherwise, trees and buildings would be huge and wouldn't fit on a square. So it was inevitable that there would be a mismatch between the figure and the scenario and the scenery scales. Even Pike and Shot has such a mismatch. It's just less obvious because the figures are smaller, but the buildings and terrain objects are still smaller relative to the figures than in reality. The terrain in Fog 2 Medieval has been deliberately designed with an unrealistic look, corresponding to medieval artistic conventions of depicting terrain, as seen in medieval manuscript illustrations. All of the banners use historical symbols appropriate to the nation or faction that they represent. Currently, we have no plans to make banners customizable.
All right, guys. I think this was quite informative, and I think it gives you a good outline of what the key questions that FAQs are about the game. Other important FAQs. If you wonder what the kids are saying downstairs, they're and they're screaming on the background. They're saying I don't want to eat this now. Leave me alone and stuff like that. It's dinner time here, so we've got to deal with that. And there's more questions as well. To answer them, I'll sort of go through these just to give you a little bit more information about the game. The Field of Glory 2 Medieval is going to come with packed content, so don't get misled by the fact it's only covered a certain amount of certain period of time during the Middle Ages. Middle Ages is kind of a long stretch of time, and with lots of military evolution. So we've had sort of to make some decisions on what to include in the first iteration. Just think about, there's 29 nations in the game. There's 57 army lists, which is quite a lot. There's over 100 units. There's all sorts of historical scenarios. One of the historical scenarios, Richard, going to play after this, right?
Yes, it is. It's going to be Battle on the Lake, if anyone knows this battle. Battle of Pipus or
Yeah,
Pippus or however one pronounce it.
yeah, the Battle of Lake Pipus. Yeah, yeah.
Pipus.
This is an interesting confrontation. I think that when you try and select battles, the battles are historical battles in a game like Fog. You want to sort of not only pick the ones that are famous, but you want to sort of pick the ones that are interesting from a military perspective or from the factions involved and so on. So I think the selection with Richard's done is pretty interesting. There's a lot of variety in there. There's also a lot of what if scenarios, that are made available through the system, really, to the skirmish system and to the campaign system. There's quite a lot that you can do, and the game is massive. The game itself is massive, and we wanted to sort of focus on giving a nice lead into the Middle Ages through this first iteration. So that if you play the Fog Ancients game, you've got all the tools to sort of start learning all the new mechanics, and then introduce more military innovations and new mechanics as we go. That's really the goal we've set ourselves. The game's in open. Well, we've opened the beta recruitment now, so if you want to subscribe, just do it now. It's all there. There's quite a lot of subscriptions already, but you can do that, and we'll drip feed new testers as we go. I think that in general, this is sort of giving you a decent amount of information for to navigate through the game. There's quite a lot of information on the product page as well. Richard, what is it that hooked you into Field of Glory as a player?
I think, when you're growing up and you're a little boy, well, not anymore, and you want to play with little army men and little Roman soldiers. And I think the first time I played Field of Glory was probably about 6 months after it was released. And once I started to play it, and, you get in your Romans, your Carthaginians, and especially Field of Glory 2, it's the scope and the feel. And I was thinking about what to say tonight, and I think it's like a game of chess, and I like chess. And I think with Field of Glory 2, you've got all these pieces on your board. Just bear with me with this analogy, and they all can do different things at different times. And when I'm playing Field of Glory 2, I love that feel that every unit on that board can do something different in different times, and that's what kind of brought me to Field of Glory 2. Because after a couple of games, I was like, "Oh, I really like this." And of course, hello, Speedy CM. I like him. He's one of the people who I talk to all the time. But yeah, just like the differences and the different battles, and you can have different styles, and all the opponents you play could bring something new to the game.
Yeah.
And I think currently with the Rise and Fall of Carthage tournament that's going off at the moment, I've done a couple of deployment videos and descriptions about the games. It's nice to see everybody's view, and you get this whole different view on the games, and it just brings whole different levels of excitement to Field of Glory 2.
Yeah. I think also one of the things that excites me about the game, it's that you may be the best player in the world, but there's not a set way to win a battle. You've got to sort of think about every move all the time. You can't not focus on the next move and not analyzing what your opponent's doing. It is a little bit but like chess, and I think that it's adding an extra layer of realism, right? It is.
But I think what people are saying on chat as well, it's, of course, I'm a tabletop war gamer as well. It's playing a game also that is, you don't have to paint a ton of figures to play. You can jump straight into there, and that makes wargaming accessible for everybody, that people who can't play the tabletop game. So that's just another a good point to Field of Glory 2. And
yeah.
Of course, medieval now as well, which is, people now want to play with knights and armored knights all the time and don't want to sit there painting. It just makes, like I said, it more accessible for everybody.
Yeah. What is it that you're gonna play now? Can you give us a quick outline of your, of course you've played it a ton of times so that you can show everyone that you can win it, but
nope.
What's
nope. I'll tell you now, Mark, I made sure that I did not play this battle. I've done a bit of reading on it, and I just, because I want everybody to experience it the first time I experience it. That's the main thing I want to do. I took some screenshots of the game for Bruno for tonight's stream, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to play it blindly and enjoy playing. But I've got some, so it's in Fair Point's a kind of a crusade against non-Christian Catholics, sorry, Christians. So it's like a crusade, normally which is against Muslims, but isn't actually against pagans, which I found was a really interesting battle, because I would say I know small bits about this battle, and it's in North West Russia, and of course this is against Russians, and of course the Russians were more, I think, scared of the Mongols who were invading down south at the same time, which I thought was a really interesting fact colliding to this battle. And of course Christians tried to have more influence around that area. What do you know about the battle, Marco, more than I do?
No, I think it's interesting. One of the things that the field glory does is, like, it also helps you, like helps you to know more and try and find out more about history. And I think, something you think is very obscure, you end up having, getting to know that it's super popular in some places, right? It is a key thing. This is a key battle for Russian culture, so much that there's symphonies being written about it, and there's tons of books being written about it, and most of our Western world history don't even talk about it. And I think it's it's one of the things that field glory does to you is really try to sort of immerse you in a different in a world that you might be interested in, but you don't know you're interested in.
It's making history relevant as well. So if you're playing a battle online, you're more likely to go and pick a book about and read it and understand more about why that was fought and how it was fought. Which is also, I enjoy that. There's lots of battles sometimes where I've never heard of that before, and then I go, this is quite interesting.
Yeah, and usually you start your Wikipedia page, and then and then you do and you go more into detail. And don't say that to RBS, because you probably say that Wikipedia is full of crap. All right, guys. Well, Richard, I'll let you go to the battle, and I hope you guys are going to follow the 2 hours of Richard. About 2 hours, right?
It's about 2 hours.
Yeah,
I think it'll take about 2 hours.
And then join us for the Warhammer 40k Gladius Craft World Eldari stream afterwards. In a second window, you can go and purchase the game, and make sure you visit the that page as well. It's been a pleasure being on How Live again, and I hopefully see you soon. In a different condition, without kids screaming or else, but goodbye everyone, and see you next time.
Okay, bye everybody. So today, ladies and gentlemen, the hype is real. Field of Glory Medieval is on the cusp of being able to play it on here, but just not yet. Just not yet. It's going to be soon.
It's gonna be soon, ladies and gentlemen.
Keep that hype.